After taking a bath at home, Kinji Ninomiya mocked wage workers enduring the rain and proudly called himself an uber pro NEET. He claimed his hard work had paid off as he had saved his allowance and invested it in swing trading, which had grown into capital. He then invested in overseas real estate, which provided him with a steady income without requiring him to work. He built 3 apartments in Tokyo and enjoyed a life that, in his words, losers cannot. He planned to live like this until he died. While he boasted, a portal suddenly opened beneath him, transporting him to another world called Amuria, inhabited by demi-humans. In ancient times, Amuria's dungeon had been filled with demons and treasure, attracting powerful humans. As modernization progressed, demonite, a valuable ore from the dungeon, became an energy source, and the government and licensed companies began managing the dungeons. Kinji worked at Raha Mining Corporation, where the employees were overworked. His supervisor reminded him that he had only hit 15% of his quota last month and dragging down the group's evaluation. Kinji explained that he wasn't feeling well, but his supervisor told him it wasn't real work unless it affected him. Frustrated, Kinji vented outside the dungeon, questioning why he had to toil in muddy pits. He overheard a supervisor scolding Wanibi, a fellow worker, and then lost his last coin down a hole. Later, Kinji took Wanibi to an expensive restaurant, and when Wanibi asked how he could afford it on their pay, Kinji said he had borrowed money from someone. The following day, after their leader scolded them, Kinji asked to take Wanibe on a prospecting tour to the 3rd dungeon level. Their leader was shocked, as it was dangerous and full of demons. Wanibe was worried, noting that most workers died there, but Kinji revealed a portal into which his coin had rolled, making entry easier. They were amazed by the amount of demonite they found. Wanibe thanked Kinji for involving him, but Kinji brushed it off, saying Wanibe was just convenient. After mining more than expected, Kinji suggested keeping the portal a secret to earn more money. As they left, a dragon followed them. Kinji pushed Wanibi forward as bait, and the dragon grabbed him. Kinji struck a deal. The dragon rim would protect them in exchange for tastier food. Kinji grew frustrated as all their earnings went to feeding Rim. They found magical items, one of which hypnotized Wanabe. Kinji used it to control their co-workers, forcing them to work. Wanabe warned Kinji to stop, but Kinji refused. The magic item eventually broke, and the workers angrily beat Kinji and left, realizing they had been used. Rim, still hungry, bit him when he asked for some consideration. Kinji returned to work, but his co-workers were hostile, frustrated, and he believed his leadership had boosted their evaluation scores. He informed them that their progress had caught the boss's attention, and that they had transferred them to Exploration Division Group 8. The Raha Mining Corporation specialized in the industrialization of demonite, with the Exploration Division being vital for revenue. Group 3 hunted giant monsters and earned elite status, while Group 8, where Kinji and Wanibi were assigned, supported frontline operations and was seen as a dropout group. Kinji's boss told him that since Wanibi was injured, he would have to cover Wanibi's shift, and that the cost of items used to combat monsters would be deducted from their pay. Feeling overwhelmed, Kinji sensed a heavy weight on his spirit and knew he had to act quickly to avoid being crushed by the company. While wandering, 3 workers asked Kinji to act as bait for a monster. A swarm of dungeon ants forced them to flee. Kinji pushed an elite worker and they dove into muddy water. He warned their boss about the ants, but they refused to send help. The ants invaded, devouring guards and trying to enter their hiding place. Kinji found a transformation potion, mixed it with their food, and drank it, turning it into ants to confuse the swarm. The elite suggested escaping, but their boss had locked them in. Kinji noticed a tired ant left behind and realized he could understand it. The ant introduced itself as Ninomiya, a traveling worker and advisor. Kinji shared how his queen's selfishness had led to their colony's collapse, and now he helped other ants. Curious, Kinji asked how often the ant rested, to which Nino replied he never did. When Kinji wondered about rewards for his labor, Nino said there weren't. Kinji pressed, asking if Nino felt annoyed, but the ant insisted he followed orders. Kinji believed there must be things Nino wanted to do, but those opportunities were taken from him. Kinji took Nino to the elite worker and his boss, instructing them to make him comfortable. He then addressed the other ants, urging them to question their queen. They gathered in protest, surprising the queen, who asked what they were doing. Kinji back in human form and told her she was a terrible queen for overworking her underlings while she relaxed. The queen enlarged to attack him, but Rim arrived, causing the ants and their queen to flee. Rim chased them, saying she was hungry. Kinji quickly offered her stolen meat, impressing the ants. Afterward, Kinji told Wanibi about his plan to take over the Raha Mining Corporation with his new organization, Dungeon Black Company, which would include the ants, their queen, and Rim. Lady Belza, the owner of the Raha Mining Corporation, welcomed Shia and praised her as the second coming of the hero. Shia humbly stated that working hard and inspiring others was an honor. Kinji, Wanibe, and the other workers were taken to Pigpen Isle for training. They were told to fight a monster in the dungeon, but fear caused them to hesitate. The instructor pressed a button, making the monster disappear, and then criticized their lack of stamina, informing them that they would train all day. When a worker complained about not eating since the day before, the instructor dismissed him, stating that they hadn't produced results and didn't deserve food. As they ascended the mountaintop, Kinji collapsed and wanted to eat a plant, but Wanibi warned him it was confusing grass. An elf worker wanted to quit, but his best man friend encouraged him to persevere. Kinji noticed that the beast man viewed the training positively, while the elves struggled. He suspected a connection and felt the training might not be so bad after all. Meanwhile, the instructor discussed the effectiveness of a brainwashing disc on the workers, who began to see the value in their efforts, despite the grueling work under the sun. They were divided into groups for support. Before they left the isle, Lady Belza commended their hard work and encouraged them to continue. The workers bowed and pledged their loyalty to the corporation. The instructor ordered the workers to buy Lady Belza figurines for 100,000 gold each, and they complied. On the ship back to the dungeons, Kinji's figurine broke, clearing his mind. Wanibi showed off his 3 figurines, but Kinji accidentally broke them too, snapping Wanibi out of his daze. They realized they had been brainwashed and ate confusion grass to disrupt the spell. Shia, their superior in Group 3, accidentally injured Wanabe and showed Kinji the new facilities. Annoyed by the demonic weapons in the store, Kinji felt that the company was exploiting them. Shia insisted he should stay positive and took him to the dungeon to test his strength against a level 3 monster. Kinji refused to fight, so Shia defeated the demon herself. When Shia saw Kinji with a dungeon ant, she ordered him to kill it, but he refused, saying the ant had lost its will to fight. Angry, Shia attacked and calling him a monster, but Kinji summoned Rim, who knocked her down. He tied her up, and she threatened to report him for working with monsters. Wanibi gave Kinji a camera, and he took a picture of Shia, Rim, and the Ant Queen. Kinji warned Shia to stay quiet about his alliance with monsters, or he would expose her, insisting she would also work for the dungeon. Tired from buying food for Rim, Kinji was ambushed by debt collectors who demanded 5 million gold by the end of the month. Shia took Wanibe and Kinji to the 2nd dungeon level, explaining that they would start there as beginners. Together they killed a monster, and Shia instructed them to separate its particular parts for rewards. Belza announced the Death March, during which Demonite and other monsters regenerated, bringing in profits. Kinji opened Ninomiya's Smiley Town monster farm, claiming it was better to harvest from monsters and let them heal. The Ant Queen said they regenerated in 3 days, and Wanibi cared for them. Belza, searching for a new hero, revealed that Shia would be sacrificed to the Majin, a monster that attacked during the Death March. In the dungeon, the Majin targeted Shia, and Kinji noticed it was focusing on her. The Majin kept injuring Shia despite her efforts. She urged Kinji to escape, insisting that she had to kill it, even if it cost her life. Kinji stopped her and threw a transportation item at the Majin, making it leave to search for her elsewhere. When the Majin returned, Kinji's trap caused it to fall into a pit. The ants poured cement. Shia dried it with magic, but the Majin broke free. As it advanced, Kinji instructed the ants to start Plan 2. He tied Shia to a piece of wood, and the ants carried them on a platform as they fled. The Majin slipped into goop, but it emerged unharmed when Kinji set it on fire. Shia insisted that she fight the Majin, but Kinji refused to let her risk her life. Shia yelled at Kinji to stop trivializing her situation, insisting she wanted to fulfill her duty. Kinji asked if her rigid thinking came from her father, the king of failed adventures. She explained that his lifestyle made life hard for her and her mother, until she worked for Raha, which taught her the value of proper work. Kinji argued that her wavering personality stemmed from adopting Raha's values instead of her own. He claimed she was being brainwashed for the company's benefit. Shia recalled her father's joy during his adventures. Kinji then used a stolen magic item to collapse the roof on the Majin, weakening it. Shia struck the Majin, but it survived. Just before it could attack Kinji, Rim arrived, transformed into her monster form, and devoured Majin's head. Kinji thanked Rim, saying he thought he was going to die. Rim explained that the Majin was incomplete because she had left and it was merely calling for help. As they left to buy food, Kinji and Rim fell into another shelter. Kinji woke up in his Tokyo room and relieved that it was a dream. He felt guilty about Shia and Rim, but shook it off and turned on the TV. The news reported a monster resembling Rim destroying food storage, shocking him into realizing everything had happened. He learned that people were outside his house, thinking he was connected to Rim, but he stayed inside, claiming he didn't know anything. Suddenly, Rim appeared in his room, hungry, and bit him. Kinji woke up again to find Rim asleep on his leg. A girl named Ranga entered, calling him Lord Messiah and begging him to save their world. Confused, Kinji asked where he was and if Shia and Rim were nearby. Ranga looked in the Book of Prophecies and read that she should approach him with a pleading look. While Rim punched a hole in the wall in frustration, Zazel, the leader of a town called Marcia, entered. Ranga, who was a skilled priestess, explained that 300 years ago, a corporation had exploited workers, weakening humanity and allowing the demon lord to rise, ruling with monsters. The remaining humans had retreated underground, living in a shelter mausoleum for centuries. Kinji told Zazel that hope returned when they found the Book of Prophecies and a miraculous gate to summon him as their savior. Shocked by the crowd of waiting humans, and Kinji called them losers for not saving their world themselves, Zazel threatened him with a gun, insisting he defeat the Demon King, but Kinji refused. When Zazel revealed the prophecy that said the path to Japan would open when the Messiah confronted the Demon Lord, Kinji reluctantly agreed. After discovering that Ranga was a boy, Kinji, Rim, and Ranga ventured outside and realized they were still in Amuria, but in the future. As they rushed to the Demon Lord's castle, Rim's hunger drove them. Ranga used magic to blow open the gate, summoning a monster that angrily asked if they knew where they were. The monster revealed they were at the house of the Deputy Assistant Section Chief. It took them to General Ant. Recognizing Kinji, General Ant excitedly called him Mr. Ninomiya, remembering their past in Old Amuria. They shared a meal, but the mood changed when a man stormed in, flipped the dining table, and complained about deadlines. Kinji annoyed and hit the man and offered to teach General Ant about efficiency, renaming their operation to Dungeon Black Company of the Future. Kinji implemented strict measures. Lazy workers faced punishment while hard-working ones earned bonuses and leadership roles, boosting morale and productivity. He announced his role as Deputy Assistant Section Chief of the Demon Lord Army, declaring his intent to rule the town as General Ninomiya and promising a future 3 times more peaceful than before. Kinji, Rim, and Ranga were bathing in the spring when Kinji revealed his promotion to Director of the Demon Lord Army's Western Invasion Force. He planned to meet the Demon Lord to return to Japan and eliminate any high-ranking members in his way. Unbeknownst to them, a hidden camera recorded their conversation while Rugin, Power Ash, and Zex watched with annoyance. She warned that failing to stop Kinji could jeopardize their status. Kinji receives a letter instructing him to hunt deserters, but it is an ambush from Power Ash, who pretends to befriend him. Rim hits a giant monster worm and asks to join, which angers Power Ash, who falls after stamping her foot on a rock. Rugini assigned Kinji the task of turning a wasteland into a farm. He summoned the worm to plow quickly, while Ranga used her magic to speed up the growth of potatoes. Zex, unable to find any information on Kinji, discovered Ranga's secret and suggested that her superior should know her past. Zex instructed Ranga to apologize on camera, but she shocked him by revealing that she was a boy. Rim arrived, chasing Zex and calling him food. The Demon Lord Army's fraternity met, feeling defeated. Kinji interrupted, addressing the hidden camera and saying their efforts had helped secure his position. Rugin embarrassed and urged them to give him an impossible mission, but they hesitated, fearing it might threaten their positions. He convinced them that working together would ensure success. Ranga woke up in a strange place wearing a dress, and Kinji, looking short and floating, insisted they must see the queen. They encountered rabbits working at a fountain in the queen's castle. Ranga remarked on their heavy workload, and the rabbits, as the queen's corporate grunts, expressed pride in their endless work, while blaming the queen for their plight. As Ranga shrank, the rabbits grew larger and scarier. She ran into a hole and landed in an internet cafe beneath the kingdom. Kinji explained that it was for those refusing to work for the queen, and warned that staying too long would drain her motivation. Ranga watched documentaries. The Queen Belza revealed that she was Ranga's ancestor. Ranga, unhappy to see her due to past hardships, refused her invitation to stay, determined to pursue her dream. Kinji woke Ranga by tapping her head. When she regained consciousness in Amuria, she remembered they had been fighting a robot and questioned whether it was wrong to have run away her whole life. Kinji reassured her that as long as her goal remained unchanged, she could be proud of herself. Kinji, Rim, and Ranga are prepared to meet the Demon Lord, surprised to find a girl urging Kinji to save the world. The Demon Lord boasted about ruling millions of monsters in the barren world, but as she walked forward, she slipped and fell, losing her head. Kinji told the others to ignore it, and the Demon Lord picked up her head, explaining that since her sister had ripped it off, it didn't stay in place. She revealed that Rim was her sister, but Rim denied it. The Demon Lord transformed into her monster form, reminding Rim of their past. Kinji was surprised to learn she was a guardian of the dungeon where they had fought. She explained that eon ago, an advanced civilization, the Colonians, controlled magic, time and space. Their duty as guardians was to protect treasures in the dungeon, but Rim, the guardian of Kinji's dungeon, spent her time on the surface. This caused the dungeon to create the Demon Lord as a replacement. Kinji asked the Demon Lord for help to get to Japan. She agreed, but wanted to show him something first. The Raha company attacked the Demon Lord's castle. She explained that after Kinji was sent to the future, they exploited the ruins, consuming magical power without circulating it. She couldn't allow this as a guardian, so she fought them on the surface and forced them into a dimensional rift, but it wouldn't hold much longer. The Demon Lord's warning of an impending war was dire. The Raha company's goal was to create a nation of corporate drones. If they succeeded, the planet would become a dystopia devoid of life. She brought Kinji to the future to witness this, and urgently urged him to return and stop the Raha company. The Demon Lord offered Kinji a choice between a door to Japan and a time portal to the past. Meanwhile, Shia, determined to earn respect, refused to rest after a long day in the dungeon. When a monster attacked, Kinji saved her and Wanibe, who were looking for him, earning cheers from the workers. Belza summoned him to discuss a growing debt from a search party, but Kinji remained unfazed, his sense of responsibility clear as he vowed to pay it off. Kinji took Rim, Ranga, and Wanibe to Shia's house, explaining that he had been kicked out and would be staying with her. Excited about Shia's upcoming party and the free food, he prepared for the event. Ranga bought a coat for Rim during her job interview, and later shared part of her pay with Shia after landing the job. However, Wanabe informed Kinji that Rim had eaten all the food which would be deducted from his pay. Kinji reflected on the Raha company's plans to exploit the ruins beneath the dungeon, while Wanabe and Shia cautioned him about the increasing dangers in the lower levels. Kinji motivated his friends to enter the dungeon to gain the power of the ruins before Belza could. They agreed, but Kinji insisted they could use that power to pay off his loans, which led them to scold him about his issues. Shia showed him a statistical evaluation sheet, noting that while the average adventurer was at level 20, Kinji was only level 5, making his survival in the dungeon uncertain. She announced plans for intensive training. Shia made Kinji and Wanibe run long distances, and then had Kinji lie on 2 logs above a fire. If he lost balance, he would get burned. She explained a system for acquiring magical power, but Kinji doubted his ability to use magic as a human. Shia revealed she had created a device to enhance his 6th sense. When Kinji expressed concern about logs flying at them, Shia criticized his lack of combat skills, saying she could have tailored training to his abilities if she had known them. Feeling disheartened about his inability to use magic, Kinji went to a bar with Wanibe. After some drinks and venting, he resolved to continue his lazy lifestyle. He thought about how to obtain the power of the ruins, and briefly considered increasing their numbers, but dismissed the idea. Annoyed by Rim and Ranga's playful distractions, he yelled at them to stop. Kinji retrieved a gun he had stolen from the future and warned his friends not to play with it. When Rim bit it, the gun glowed, absorbed enough mana to activate, and recognized Kinji as its user after he provided a password. Feeling empowered, Kinji, Rim, Shia, Ranga, and Wanibe headed into the dungeon, planning to reach the 5th floor for the ruins. They learned that Belza's adventurers were struggling at the gate, giving Kinji's crew time to catch up. When 2 monsters attacked, Shia told everyone to protect Kinji, but he confidently stepped forward and blasted one of the monsters with the gun, impressing nearby level 3 workers. However, the gun soon malfunctioned due to low energy. It activated an emergency protocol, absorbing demonites and everyone's clothes for mana. Kinji tried to discard the gun, but it magically reattached to him, leaving everyone naked. As they scolded him, he requested another weapon, but the gun shot down the knife, insisting he didn't need anything else. Kinji worried he couldn't pay off his loan since the gun required so much mana. Suddenly, the gun started a countdown to self-destruction, but Kinji stopped it as it clung to him, suggesting they should self-destruct together. Kinji, his group, and some level 3 workers entered a surprisingly empty part of the dungeon. A worker shared a story of a betrayed hero whose ghost was said to haunt the place. Suddenly, zombie-like adventurers appeared, healing instantly when attacked. One bit a worker, turning him into a zombie too. Shia noticed Kinji was missing, and Rim led them down a hidden staircase. They found zombie-like adventurers preparing potions. Ranga explained magic incantations controlled them. The group pretended to be zombies to destroy the magic source, but chaos broke out when Shia started a fight, and the zombies attacked them. Ranga destroyed the magic source, returning the adventurers to normal. Rim led the group to Kinji, who was commanding a ghost to apologize. The ghost revealed she had once been a mage who trapped her hero partner in the dungeon after he rejected her, later dying from overwork. She kidnaps Kinji because his aura reminds her of the hero, intending to brainwash him. However, after talking to Kinji, she decided to leave the dungeon and make the world suffer through overwork. Wanabe told her that modern society has already forced people to work until exhaustion. Relieved, the ghost turned into a woman, thanked Kinji, and disappeared. Meanwhile, Cindy blamed the ghost for scaring customers and causing weak sales at her shop. As Cindy cried over her business struggles, Kinji entered her shop, accusing her of selling defective clothes. She apologized, but he demanded a considerable discount. Cindy protested that he was being unfair, but Kinji persisted. Shia stepped in, telling Kinji to stop, but he argued that since Cindy worked for Raha's company, she should admit the shop had no personal value. Teary-eyed, Cindy explained that the shop had been her father's before the company bought it. Cindy showed Kinji her shop full of unsold, low-quality potions. He promised to help her sell them in exchange for a discount on protective gear. Kinji rebranded the potion as Dead Cow, and level 3 workers advertised it to adventurers. Soon, crowds flocked to Cindy's shop. When Cindy asked how Kinji came up with the idea, he explained that he had appealed to people's self-satisfaction and added an extra ingredient. Alarmed, Cindy warned that it might be wrong, but Kinji silenced her. Agents arrived and halted the sales, citing the potion's hypnotic effects exceeding legal limits. Kinji retreated, leaving Cindy to handle the fallout. Shia scolded him for abandoning her, but Kinji insisted that Cindy needed to learn to make decisions on her own. In her dream, Rim saw the young Demon Lord mage crying. She woke up with Ranga, who was worried about Kinji. Soon, Kinji, Wanibe, and some scouts were chased by monsters. Kinji used glue to make them slip while Shia killed them with her sword. He introduced the scouts to Rim and Ranga, explaining they were trapped on the 4th floor with entrances to the 3rd and 5th blocked. Kinji insisted they must go deeper. The scouts reported that bodyguards on the 5th floor were fighting 2 monsters, while 4th-level monsters attacked each other. The dungeon ant queen appeared, carrying a conscious Majin. She told Kinji she missed him, but he didn't recognize her until she transformed. In a house prepared by the scouts, she explained her transformation was for convenience as they were hunted. The ant queen revealed that if she fell ill, the dungeon would suffer. The Majin controlled magic circulation. When Rim, the first Majin, left, irregularities arose. As she weakened, chaos ensued. The Ant Queen begged Kinji for help. If the ecosystem degraded, the Majin's health would suffer too. Rim brought food for the Majin, but she refused to eat and acted hostile. Rim tried to care for her, but the Majin remained aggressive, likely due to their past fight. Feeling bad, Rim sat outside until Kinji joined her. She explained her desire to visit the outside, not realizing it would weaken Majin. She asked for Kinji's help, and he agreed, teasing her about food costs. The next day, Kinji gathered everyone, stating they needed to interfere with the dungeon's magic circulation since they couldn't leave the 4th floor. They provided water for aquatic monsters while the mage threw a tantrum. Rim, feeling tired, tried to calm her, but noticed the Majin had a fever. She put ice on her head, but it melted quickly, raising concern as there was no more ice. Rim went to the cold region to break down ice blocks, while Kinji had Shia attract hop rabbits in a cute outfit. Rim cooled the Majin with ice, but she refused to eat, so Rim insisted. Afterward, Kinji and the others gathered at a pond where creatures excreted venom due to a violet monster. They drained the pond, and the monster emerged, huge from absorbing mana. Shia told Kinji that killing it would help mana circulate on the 4th floor. The Majin woke Rim, surprising her with her health and speaking ability. Thrilled, Kinji urged Rim to name her. She chose Sky, her first liking. After leaving the dungeon, Sky asked if that was her name, shocking everyone. They discussed food, but Sky suddenly felt weak. The Ant Queen warned that something was wrong. Bodyguards on the 5th level faced a swarm of monsters instead of just 2. Alice V. Alstein, the leader of Belza's bodyguard, told his team not to flee during monster attacks, but they panicked and escaped. Kinji and his friends arrived with dungeon ants to rescue them. Alice asked to search for the ruins, but Kinji slapped him, advising self-reliance. Alice was surprised by Kinji's arrival, seeing him as a morale booster. When he revealed he helped a friend in pain, Alice questioned his loyalty to Belza. Kinji took the group to the ruins, producing monster guardians and splitting them into teams to bring down a structure. An ant informed him that Sky was healthy, easing Rim's worries. A bodyguard showed Kinji the way to the 6th floor. There, they found the artifact Belza sought. Kinji told everyone to stay back, activating it while recalling a warning about monster numbers. The gun informed him that connecting to a higher command device granted him access to dungeon power. Viewing his allies as pawns, Kinji vowed to create a paradise. Before Belza could escape from approaching monsters, Kinji arrived on a dragon, frustrating her as he handed over his resignation and enough demonite to settle his debt. 3 months later, Kinji built Ninomiya Dungeon Land, astonishing the city with his success. Featured on a magazine cover as a revolutionary, Ranga brought him the sales report and Ant Queen's findings. Peering out the window at a long line waiting to enter, she asked why he opened the dungeon, and Kinji replied, it was his first step toward the world he desired. Kinji bought abandoned dungeons and regenerated them. Ranga asked how, and he explained Belza's failure to manage the dungeon led to her struggles. He could control it because he read the operation manual, which stated that a dungeon became dormant without external magic, so more adventurers meant more demonites. During a Raha company meeting, Belza announced a significant profit drop due to Ninomiya Dungeonland and warned of a potential market crash. Kinji entered, inviting them to join his company and taunting them about their impending loss. Kinji helped Cindy's shop thrive with a dragon delivery service. Wanibe ensured the quality of the demonites and expressed his satisfaction, while Kinji felt guilty about Shia still being at Raha company. At a bar, Belza lamented her company's decline. Ranga irritated her by sharing her history. The debt collector tripped over Belza's bag, spilling its contents. Belza found Shia's files and revealed her plan. Kinji faced arrest for violating demonite trading laws. At a press conference, Belza accused him of using illegal methods to explore unexplored dungeon floors owned by Raha company. He claimed he engaged in unethical practices to enhance his performance metrics. Testimonies from his former supervisor and debt collector strengthened the allegations. Belza praised Shia for exposing Kinji's actions, asserting he exploited monsters for labor which jeopardized jobs. Amidst the turmoil, Wanibe and Ranga left the conference, with Wanibe warning that outdated humanity protection laws might apply to Kinji, insisting they must save him. In a separate encounter, Misin Sari, a special investigator, interrogated Kinji. When he remained silent, she resorted to stabbing him with a pen, claiming she would employ any means necessary to get the truth. Meanwhile, Shia met with Belza, who was determined to extract a confession from Kinji. Shia later visited Kinji in his cell, using healing magic. She expressed remorse for her quest for justice, acknowledging that it had hurt him. Kinji reassured her that they would continue to clash as long as they held on to their beliefs, but he viewed the weak people she aimed to protect as toxic. At a party, Belza mingled with other dungeon masters, but felt disgusted by their attitudes. She reminded herself of her goal, to gain the power of the ruins from Kinji. That night, Wanibe, Ant Queen Ranga, Rim, and Sky broke into the company to find Kinji's emergency manual, intent on securing his release. A month later, the Raha Mining Corporation held a shareholder meeting. Belza envisioned recreating the world, and a motion to promote her to director passed without objection. However, she was taken aback when another motion proposed Kinji as CEO. As confusion spread, Wanibe, Ranga, Rim, and Sky stood, revealing their plan to remove the current CEO in favor of Kinji. Wanibe explained they had acquired 40% of Raha's stock and secured a letter of attorney from 15% of the stockholders. Belza, assuming Kinji remained under arrest, and questioned how a criminal could ascend to CEO. Just then, Kinji, Sari, and Shia entered. Sari presented a contract confirming the sale of demonite to Kinji, declaring the arrest a mistake. Kinji told Belza that Raha would follow his philosophy, and thanked her for her assistance. Angrily, she questioned why he obstructed her, and warned of the threat he posed with monsters. Kinji gloated over the populace on his rooftop, wondering why he felt uneasy despite his triumph. He reprimanded Belza and Ranga for slacking off as he and Wanibe conducted inspections. Wanibe noted the company needed more than just Kinji, emphasizing balance. As Kinji prepared for the future, he was surprised by a farewell party organized by Wanibe, Ranga, Shia, and Rim. He thanked Wanibe for his support and expressed his commitment to expanding the Black Dungeon Company in Amuria, finding fulfillment in his work and inspiring others as a role model.